Peace and love. You're now tuned into a dope public health podcast. I'm your host, Demonte. And as always, this is a safe space where we lead with grace and we're always open to learning. And today I'm joined by another dope guest from the Atlanta area. I'm joined by Essence, the herbalist. Essence, how are you?
I feel amazing today. Actually, a little nervous, but and
No
it's
worries.
not you. It's just always speaking to people. I always get like a little nervousness. So
Okay.
I'm good. I'm
I
good. I'm
feel
really
you. Where you are amongst good people, both visually and those that are listening, because this is one of those spaces where we definitely honor you. So I do always I love to lead with, just the fascination of social media.
mhm.
I have learned to use it in a way that I have been able to connect with people all over the world.
Yeah.
And you are part of that uh, connection of folks throughout the diaspora who I've been fortunate enough to kind of connect with. So I came across your stuff and I was like, yo, I told my wife a long time ago, I was like, I need to get an herbalist on the podcast. That would be so dope. I have no idea how
Mhm.
I'll even be able to find one. And
Right.
then one day I'm searching and bam, Essence the herbalist. So to
Out here.
kind of to kind of tee us off, I'm just interested if you can those of us that are listening that might have a clue of what herbalism is, talk to us what is an herbalist actually? I think we should start there with the foundation and we can grow from there.
Okay, so I want to first start off saying like a herbalist looks different for everybody, right?
Mm,
Because everybody studies herbalism in a different capacity. I take more
mm,
of a holistic approach to herbalism. You have some people that work specifically to assist with certain organs or certain systems. Everybody is different. Like it looks the same way as it does in a sense like you're going to an oncologist or whatever. Everybody can be either more system specific or they could be more organ specific or they can be looking into holistic health. That's where I come in. So I
mm-hmm.
service the community from a space of holistic health of mind, body, and spirit. And I do that within the space of like utilizing plants. And so I personally believe that disease is manifested beyond just the physical aspect of things.
That's
And so for
powerful.
some people, I may be working with them emotionally with plants. For some people, I may be working with them mentally with plants. For others, we might be addressing things physically, or it may be a combination of things. So, as an herbalist speaking for myself, I just bring harmony back into the body through the plants
Mm.
within that way. And so for me, like that is what a herbalist, what an herbalist is for me. But everybody might explain it a little differently.
Sure. And then what made you go down to that specific niche of mind, body, and spirit?
hmm Looking at the whole person and the whole plan, you
Hmm.
can't just, for me, just look at one thing just surface level. Everything to me is always deeper than what it looks like on the surface. And that's when I started to really look into naturopathy and get deeper into understanding people. And then I started to study human biology and get into anatomy and start to look at the plants even deeper and understand, okay, now how do I bring them together and
Hmm.
bring that harmony where there's imbalance within the body. And so it was the need for me within community and the way that I began to connect with the plants that caused me to get deeper into my studies. I realized that it wasn't just about, oh, okay, you have a symptom of a headache, let me give you a herb for a headache, but not talking to you about proper water intake, right? Or not seeing if your mind is racing, if you had a lot of different things going on, right? And understanding water and how we need water in our body, and when dehydration come about, it may cause toxins to build up in the body and lead to the headache. So I don't just give you a herb, but I want to look to the root cause. And so I just got I just got deeper and
Yeah.
deeper and sometimes I fascinate myself, I guess.
Yeah.
How
That's
deep I've gone, yeah.
I like that because, especially in the digital space, folks are sometimes hey, here's this quick remedy. Like, no, you're looking to get to the root cause. So that definitely speaks to your holistic approach. So and then how Like, when did you know, yo, I want to go down this avenue? I want to go down this lane. Like, where did the beginning of your journey start?
Okay, so my grandmother introduced me to the plants as a young girl. My
Okay.
grandmothers, my great grandmothers, like all of them are root workers, okay, root doctors that they would call it. Sometimes
Yes.
they're even referred to as treaters. And
Mm-hmm.
so my grandmother introduced me to the plants as a young girl. I was dealing with some issues with my digestive system, and she took me to one of her friends, and together they developed like a remedy to assist me with my digestive health. Like I just wasn't going to the bathroom regularly. And
Mm-hmm.
that was just like, I was like, with plants, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what we doing? And I was like, okay. So it was always that spark. And I would always go to the shop or go in the backyard with them and talk about the different plants and things like that. Um, and so I was raised with the plants in that way. I was introduced as a young girl, and then of course I went off to start to do my own thing. I was never big on medicine. Like I've never taken medicine. My life just didn't look like that.
Okay.
Um, but once I got to college, and I always wanted to become an OBGYN.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I was learning, final year in college, and I'm like, okay, so where does the reversing of things come about? Where does the prevention, where does the nutrition, where does all these things come into play?
Mm-hmm.
And I had that reality of like, okay. Like it was like that moment of like, Shamika, you just gonna be like pushing things over the counter. It was gonna look very textbook. And I'm
Gotcha.
like, nah, this ain't it. This is not it. And so I took everything. Like, don't get me wrong. I really love what I learned in school.
Mm-hmm.
And I took that and I took my life experiences and then I went back to the basics and the foundations of what I was introduced to, and I brought it all together. So I already always had a passion for science and chemistry and nature and the earth within that capacity. I was majoring in chemistry, minoring in biology. So I that was always my thing. I just
Mm-hmm.
had to make it make sense for me. And then that's what led me back to the basics and delving into holistic health. And I went and studied to become a doula. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when it just like all made sense for me. And so from there,
Really?
I just took off from there.
Wow. And then with that being said, can you talk about like how you were able to kind of like merge slash reconcile, hey, I have this academic knowledge, but I
Mm-hmm.
also have this knowledge that I've been like raised with, you
Oh,
know, and then
oh.
like you're reckoning with this and reasoning with this to find this lane where we now see Essence the herbalist. So
Mm-hmm.
if you can just talk to me a little bit or us a little bit about that, like how did you navigate that? Like you said, you learned all of these things from a very technical standpoint, and
Mm-hmm.
then you know you're called to do something else. So how did you do that? How did you merge those?
Oh, let me tell you, I love this is a good question right here, friend. I love this because in chemistry, I started to understand that everything had a chemical makeup.
Mm,
And so it took me to understand how, everything had a chemical makeup. And then I started to look at the plants and understand that plants have chemical makeup. See, we only see the leaves or we only see the barks or the roots. But understanding that that plant has a chemical makeup. And when you're creating natural medicine or using those remedies, you're extracting that chemical makeup out of that plant. And
yes.
that's what you're using. And so when I say using, whether it's a tincture, a tonic, a tea, a facial steam, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is that you're creating naturally, you're extracting those chemical components out of that plant and actually infusing it with like a menstruum, okay? And your
Mm-hmm.
menstruum can either be water or alcohol or vinegar, and so you're extracting that chemical makeup out of that plant holistically and using that versus what you learn to do in the space of that technical world where
Mm-hmm.
they extract the chemical components and then combine it with synthetics and things like that to speed it up or
Ah.
block the body. And so when I understood that, like I dove deep into like understanding the constituents of plants and understanding their compounds and looking into the tannins and looking into that chemical makeup. And I fell in love. I completely fell in love with the
Yeah.
plants that way because I was able to take something that I was passionate about and understand that it's all really interconnected. It is just the way that it's administered is different.
Gotcha.
When I understood that, it was like, yeah. So that's how I was able to take my love for chemistry and biology and physics and everything and make it make sense by
Hmm.
understanding the chemical makeups of both. And not only the chemical makeups of the person, but also considering the chemical makeup of the plants, but also considering the chemical makeup of the person.
Wow.
And it caused me to delve deeper. So instead of going and finding over the counter synthetics, how can I find natural serotonins to assist with the gut health? Or how can I find natural things within a particular plant to improve the overall health of the person? And that's when I fell in love with it.
Wow. So in a sense, this offers just a way that you can alleviate, like you said, the synthetic things, all of those additives.
Hmm.
Um, so that really makes sense. So then one of the I believe it's like a misconception slash myth is that people that operate in your space are like anti-healthcare. Like
Hmm.
it's always like you have,
Yeah.
if you're this, you're anti that. So like,
Hmm.
I mean, but you studied it and like you have the education behind you to match with your other education. So like how did what can you say about that is that a myth, or like how would you be able to help people get a better or more factual understanding of, okay, this is why herbalism exists, and it's not necessarily anti-healthcare.
Hmm. So I want to say that I honestly don't feel that it is a myth, and I share this with my students all the time. I
Mm-hmm.
am not against doctors. I am not against nurses. I'm not against hospitals. I'm not against those things because I feel like um, everything offers a great benefit to us in certain capacities.
Mm,
Where my so I try to find the good in the things. I think that there are good doctors, especially when it comes to emergency medicine, right? If somebody cut a limb off, it's one thing for me to go and get yarrow that'll stop with the bleeding, but it's another thing to take them to the doctor and get stitches. So I think that doctors serve a purpose. I think where the disconnect comes for many people is how our ways have been taken from us, demonized, revamped, given back, and sold to us. And I think that's why so many people are disconnected when it comes to doctors. Um, and I learned that it's not just when it comes to medicine, but even in the space of working with birth and working in the birthing field of things. And so I feel like it's not a myth. And then on top of that, the experiments and things like that that have come about through our people. So there is no trust
yes.
there as well. And they have demonized natural remedies and herbalists when in fact most medications come from plants that they then strip those components, combine them with synthetics, and then they're able to speed up reactions within the body. And so what I would love to for people to understand is that plants are the original thing. We didn't always have doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we didn't always have doctors, but we always had plants because baby, plants are our oldest ancestors. If we want to really break that thing down and get into it, and so we had plants before we had anything else. And so, most people don't know that echinacea is actually a plant. They
Yeah.
only know medication from that over the counter um, um, antibiotic, but echinacea is a natural antibiotic in earth. And so there is great benefit to using plants, just like there is great benefit within going to the doctor, depending on what the person has going on. Some of
Mhm.
us have been so disconnected from the earth and from ourselves that people don't know how to listen to their body to know when something is going on, right? We've been so disconnected within that way. And so for people that don't have a resource, then maybe going to the doctor is a thing until they come across somebody like me that's
Yeah.
going to really spit that game to them and let them know what's really going on. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a myth. I think that you do meet most people in a space of natural living that is completely against doctors. I'm not one. Like, and I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
I go to the doctor every year. I go to the doctor every year, especially my gynecologist, to get my work done.
Mm-hmm.
But I know how to read my own charts. I know how
Yes.
to read my blood work. I know how to read my body. I know how to self-test. And so I just go to doctors for reassurance to make sure everything is go okay. But my doctor also know I'm gonna take my stuff home. And I'm gonna study my own body and understand what's going on. So I can tell you what my hemoglobin levels are. I can tell you when my iron is my iron levels are low. I will cook in a cast iron skillet and then take me some natural herbs, some sarsaparilla or some nettle to get my iron levels back up. I don't go and take a synthetic pill to help me with my iron levels. So I
Gotcha.
mean, like I said, it's great benefits to both. You know, just being on the more natural side of things is my way.
Yeah. And you said something that was really, really profound. Two different things.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that jumped out, you was like, plants are our original ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just say a little bit more about that, if you will.
So um, I the world was here before the people. Okay. Everything existed even before us. And when I say that they're our oldest ancestors, they've been here longer. Some
Yeah.
of our ancestors have transitioned, and but the plants are still here,
Yeah.
right? And so when I say that the plants are our oldest ancestors, they still carry that wisdom. They're still teaching us. Without them, we don't exist. They can exist without us. We can't exist without them. And so that's what I mean when I say that they're our oldest ancestors. They're here to guide us, to teach us, right? To assist in the space of um, really changing the trajectory when it comes to health. Like plants are true wisdom and or guidance for us in
Mm,
so many different ways. And so they are our oldest ancestors, and they have not transitioned and gone on. They may leave for a season, but
yeah.
baby, trust me, they coming back. And they
Yeah.
coming back to do the same thing, if not better, just for another person.
Wow. And then, you know, I know you know this, and you kind of alluded to just the different things that have been done is on just us specifically, specifically Black women in healthcare, and that trust and the mistrust. You know, I'm a dad with three, excuse me, three Black daughters. So like, I'm really like in studying that, like being able to like talk to my girls and be able to talk to all three of them, and just, you know, you said something else that was very profound, and you're like, you know, I go to the doctor, but I study my stuff. I
Hmm.
know my stuff. So I can have this dialogue, and it
Hmm.
is no longer this authoritative position. It's like, I know my stuff too. So like, you know, there's power there, because now you're entering this space, and you're like, the playing field has been leveled. So can you talk to me about like,
Hmm.
how did you arrive to that space? Just being able to just properly advocate for yourself in that space, and like, I know what I'm talking about. So like, just a little sneak peek into that portion.
Okay. So I'm with me more than anybody else.
Mm,
And with that being said, I spend more time with myself. I know what's normal and what's not normal, right? Because they're remind you now, or mind you that certain standards are not necessarily for all people. And so when we're going to the doctors, we have to understand like when they're giving us information to whose standard,
mm,
those things like that start to really, pop in my mind. Um, when I was a younger girl, or I would go in, like for example, I was put on birth control at a very young age, and I'm that person that's going to read the whole fine print. And so
okay.
as I'm reading the back of the Depo-Provera shot, it's saying that even up to a year afterwards, it's likely that I won't be able to conceive. And so
Mm,
I started to read into things of what was going on, but I had that aha moment of like I spend more time with myself than anybody else. So who are you to tell me what's normal? Who are you to say that this is abnormal unless it's an abnormal growth, right? My body is set up like this based on so many different things. I know what I'm eating. I know what's going in and outside of me. Like I started to really study my body. And then from there, I started to study the works of people that look like me as well.
mm-hmm,
Although there's a lot of information out there that state that we're all the same. Yeah, we're all human, but we're not necessarily the same. And so
Facts.
from there, I started to really had to really look into like, well, why are people studying my people? Why are they
Mm,
studying us within this way? Why are we being used for experiments? Like, what does that look like? And the deeper I began to dive into things, I realized that it was necessary for me to really start to learn me. And so, for me to really start to learn my own chemical makeup in my body so that I can assist myself, I think one of the most resilient acts as people in general is being more sustainable and being able to take care of yourself. So like you said, I moved out of took myself out of that position of there was a hierarchy or an authority to tell me what I needed to do with my body. And
mm-hmm.
I educated myself and started to self-test through studying things from like Dr. Africa or Dr. Jewel Pookrum, and start to study their works and understanding the human body and understanding how to assist myself holistically, right? And especially as a melanated person, and
Mm-hmm.
start to get away from the westernized concepts of things. And so I started to just really look into me and tap into me and delve deeper into me to learn me,
Yeah.
and not from what somebody else was telling me.
Okay. And then so with that being said, so like you've learned this, you got this academic background, you have this amazing family foundation that really gets you off to the ground running. Um and now you've been educated and you know how to take care of yourself. But then what made you go down like, oh, there's a whole entrepreneurial lane that I can go down? It's like you went a step further. I know how to I was taught to take care of me,
Mm-hmm.
but now I want to share that love. So like what led you down that path, where we now have unearthed botanicals?
The community.
Mm,
I used to just get online and talk about books that I was reading and share about different herbs I was using. I allow people to see my journey. I was always very transparent about things. And
gotcha.
my social media just started to grow. And then from there, people will say, well, Mika, why don't you teach? Teach who? Like, you know what I'm saying? Host a class, host this, host that. And it was the need for community that started my path. I had literally just started selling products and then people wanted to know. And when I got into working with the plants, it was not a popular thing. Not only was it not popular, it wasn't trendy on social media, and I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me compared to where things are now. And so
Mm-hmm.
mine was 10 years ago. People weren't talking about using plants. People weren't we're not really embracing this natural and holistic lifestyle. And so people were just gravitating towards me, and it was the people that called me. It was the need for community, and that led me to teaching.
Wow. And even how you talk about the transparency piece. Um, and it seems that you do create your content from that space of this is me. I have learned these different things. If you'd like to learn, I'm more than welcome to show you. So like and like you said, you have different clients, but you've been 10 years in the game, and like what have you seen in the space over the last 10 years? Like how's that evolution been for both the industry as a whole and just yourself personally?
I actually love. I'm gonna tell you the good and the bad. Well, what
Okay.
I could be in a sense bad. I absolutely love the fact that more people are gravitating to getting back to their roots, embracing traditional living, getting back into the holistic realm of things. I feel like as a community of people and a cultural people, like we're taking we're taking back that love that I feel like we lost within being disconnected. And
Mm,
so I'm starting to see people, they're growing their own food, or the dialogue is different. I'm able to now sit at the table with my family or friends who thought that I was like a crazy conspiracy theorist 10 years
okay.
ago, to now
Okay.
be like, I meek, you know what I'm saying? You might be on track with that, or just being able to see people like, I'm gonna trust these plans. I'm gonna trust my intuition. I'm gonna pray about it. Like, I'm seeing such an abundant amount of people that are really tapping back in, and I love it. I really, really do. I'm seeing more and more people that look like me. I'm seeing brothers stepping in, getting their health together. I'm seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I admire so much is the what we're pouring into the newer generations. I'm
Yeah.
starting to see younger children farming, or young girls who's just starting their menstrual cycles buying herbal pads for me, or asking me to send them red raspberry leaf to like help them with, help them throughout their cycle and balancing. And we're understanding food again, and we're understanding like how everything is truly interconnected. And so I love it. I really
Yeah.
love the evolution of where things are. Um, and so I think it's beautiful. I think it's growing. I'm looking forward to it really transforming. That I can
Yeah.
tell you that. Now the downside that I do see is with it being more trendy, there people aren't really considering the fact that, yeah, herbs do have side effects. Herbs have contraindications with some over the counter medications. And so
Gotcha.
that is my only concern now, is that even though it's becoming popular and we're getting back to it, and like you said, so on social media, you're hearing people say, take this, take that, or whatnot. They're no longer considering the whole person. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's more so like I'm making a post that it has some good benefit to it, the post that they're posting, but they're not considering the whole person. And with being in this social media era, people will just jump out there and do what somebody said, not
Yes.
considering the medication that they're on, not considering their whole self. And so I have great concern about how, with that being done, how it may be detrimental to some people. And so that is my only concern about with it becoming so trendy, and people take St. John's wort for this, but not understand that the person is already on a medication for depression,
Mm.
and it has contraindicating properties, and it may cause a person to spiral. It may cause their mental health to go somewhere else, or it's just those things that I think about, because there are side effects to herbs. There are contraindication properties, the contraindicating properties if people are on drugs. Like, there's a such thing as herb and drug interaction that people have to look into before we're just promoting things. So even within my transparency within my post, I'll
Mm-hmm.
say, consult with your physician, or I don't recommend this herb if you have a nightshade allergy. Don't take this. Or if you're on a medication, you want to be mindful of taking that. And so I find myself now debunking a lot of things that people put online when people do come to me, because I'm like, yeah, I know that somebody said that may be good for your heart health, but you're on this many medications.
Yeah.
Let's take it down a notch and start you with something a lot milder than to just, something that could be very detrimental to your health.
Sure. And with that, do you would you say that you've gotten clients because, just like I was able to kind of come across your platform and things like that, have you gotten clients from the digital space as well?
Oh, absolutely. People write
Wow.
every single day. And if I can be honest with you, a lot of times I don't take on clients as paid clients.
Okay.
If you really love what you do, I was taught that by one of my elders,
Hmm.
that sometimes you're just really willing to do it just because. And so
Wow.
lately I found myself in a just because space. So it's not always transactional for me. I have clients that I work with that are experiencing infertility, and as a woman that I'm not married yet and I don't have children, I sometimes put myself in the shoes of that sister as a wife,
Hmm.
and but as a sister as well, and I'll take them on as clients. Or I find that people just may be financially challenged or whatever it is. And so, I mean, I believe in charging my worth, but to me, I just got to a place where it's not so much transactional, but
Yeah.
I really love what I do and I understand where my help comes from. And so it might just be me responding to a DM that
Sure.
may not necessarily be a client, but for a way for me to help somebody.
So you actually live out bringing the love back to the space. You
Yeah.
actually live that out.
Yeah.
That's really dope. That's really dope. And then like so so you talked about kind of like bringing the love back and just plant our ancestors, and like so as you're helping people, like now let's get specific in regards to like, okay, what are some of the things that Essence provides? Like,
Hmm.
so like, pre-production, I got excited. I'm like, wait, you're in your space? Like that was just, like she got all the herbs right there, yo. So like with that, like what are some of the different I don't know if you have a specialty, but a lot of the herbs that you typically have and recommend
Mhm.
in your space, what are some of those things that you might be able to just talk to us a little bit about?
So I have and I'll spin you around just a little bit. I have
Okay.
like a variety of herbs here, and over here. And
Okay.
so what I love to really work with is I don't focus a whole lot on cleaning, right? Unless it's like, well, I start within a gut, but if I'm going to work with somebody in the space of cleansing,
Okay.
I'll work with different herbs like maybe burdock root or cascara sagrada to help with gut health. I identify within our community, our digestive systems are oftentimes very, very compromised. So I work with a lot of bitter herbs like dandelion, and I tell, people the bitter, the better. We got, don't let
Mm,
our taste buds kill us. We're not always looking for something sweet. We got to change
that's
that palate
powerful.
and get back to health. And so I'll work with different herbs that are going to be cleansing. I work with different herbs that are also rich in nutrients because I believe if I'm going to sit you in a space of cleansing and detox, we need to pour that nutrients back into you and identify as well that a lot of the times we don't know how to properly combine food. We don't really know how to eat. So I meet people that are nutrient deficient. And so I work with a lot of herbs. Milky oats is a really great herb. It is
Hmm.
like a tonic herb that you can use every single day. Um, and I work with herbs for different systems. I work with organ specific. It really depends on what the client needs, but I really focus on nutrients. A lot of the times, the things are manifesting within our body due to deficiencies and stagnation. And so, when I started to understand that, I really started to really focus on ways to pour back into the body because we oftentimes have knocked the body out of whack. So how do we pour back into it? And that's
Yeah.
what comes with those adaptogens. I'll use different adaptogens for like mental health. So adaptogens are going to be herbs that bring balance within the body. And what I love the most about herbs, and I use like ashwagandha is a really great one, but so is holy basil, is that when you're taking these herbs, you don't have to go to the heart. I got an imbalance there. Go to my liver. I got an imbalance there.
Hmm.
The chemical makeup of those plants, it searches the body for those imbalances and
Wow.
start to bring back harmony. And so I work with a variety of of different plants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's really powerful because like you said, you do I'm gonna do a little bit of homework. If you have this, don't do that. If you have this, don't do this. So I think that really speaks to you working with the whole person.
Mhm.
And then like you said, the part that really just jumped out was like they naturally go to the places and seek out where the help is
Mhm.
needed.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, because the myth that Westerners have been sold is this pill is going to be it. This is going to do all the things. Meanwhile, like you said, the plant is the source, the main ingredient for that pill. Wow. Wow.
Absolutely. And the if I can just jump in real quick, the
Hmm.
difference is that with a lot of these plants they alleviate things and not just symptoms. And so you can be on a
Wow.
pill forever. You can take a herb for a few months and no longer have to take it. And so, of course, as a herbalist, I can't say things like cure or treat or heal because then I'm practicing medicine without a license. But I've seen
Gotcha.
people having a balance and take a certain herb for a certain length of time and then no longer have to take that herb, right? And so
Yeah.
that's the difference when we're taking a lot of these over the counter medications. Now, ask people, well, how long did they say that you have to take this? Oh, it's forever, like it's normal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no. But I can tell you there's no herb that I had to take forever. Whether I'm cleaning my gut, I can take a herb for 8 days and I'm good.
Hmm.
I've seen women do castor oil packs and take chase tree berry and a little bit of chaparral and are not on medication for fibroids for the rest of their lives or having to go get hysterectomy. So I've seen the powers within the plants. And
Yeah.
that is really the difference between the pharmaceutical drugs and the plants. And I think that's where the issue come in because greater powers that be, and you gotta always follow the money trail.
And I was gonna ask because you said like I can't say these words because it's this. So that's a
Hmm.
very, very nuanced space to operate in. So like, you know, what are some of the things that like you can say in replace of those? Because like you said, it's truly in a lot of these different instances you're giving, it's alleviating the situation. So like as an herbalist, like how do you not from the marketing standpoint, but just how do you then explain that to your client?
Right. So wordplay is everything. And with my clients, I explain that to them from the beginning. I don't make any guarantees, just like a doctor. And just like
Right.
a doctor practice medicine, we're practicing in a sense within herbalism. Like, let's be real about that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I will not say cure, I'll say assist. Or I'm not saying that I'm necessarily practicing, but I'm educating. And so I had to really learn wordplay because if you look in times again, when our elders who were working in the space of plant medicine begin to use words like cure, treat, or prevent something, they were gone after. The government started to get involved. And so
Mm,
because of that, I am
that's
very mindful
powerful.
of my wordplay. I no matter how powerful I know a plant is, I say it may assist with. I will always say this, the information that I'm sharing with you right now is for educational purposes, right?
Right.
And so I am always mindful of my wordplay. And in a sense, you have to protect yourself. You know, in this space where you get too big or you start sharing too much, you know what
Mm-hmm.
comes with it. So it's like,
Yes.
I always have to be mindful of that, or sitting with my lawyer and always handling things, because I want to make sure that I'm operating properly and within
Gotcha.
my scope, so that I'm forever a resource and I'm not just a memory to people, because it could be so layered when you really start to tap into this work and you start to tap in assisting people. I don't want the unnecessary headaches. And so I'm mindful of my verbiage. And not only do I educate my students, I also educate my customers. And so if me and you are working together, I teach you the lingo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to you like, how I would talk to them. And so I'm teaching you the lingo as well, because the more informed we all are, the better we all are.
Gotcha. And then, because you have several different herbs and things like that. So do you just grow everything? Do you grow and source? Like what does that look like?
So I grow and source. And if I do source, I'm sourcing locally. I grow a lot of different herbs, but
Mhm.
I'm not able to like keep up with the demand. So within going into this new season, I'm going to be growing at multiple locations with a friend of mine, just because the demand is
Wow.
the demand is really there. But I not only grow my herbs, I grow my own food, because nutrition is also foundational in the space of keeping the body healthy. But yes, I do source, and if I source locally, I'm big on quality. You can't just buy herbs from everywhere. And a lot of times with these companies, they're sourcing herbs from out of the country. And
Mm,
oftentimes these plants are chemically sprayed as well. So that's another myth. Like we've been talking about myths, that everything is natural is so good for you. You still got to know the source. You still got to know the quality, and the your herbal preparations or herbal medicine is a direct reflection of the quality of the plants that you're using. And
gotcha.
so oftentimes, for example, let's say me and you were working together, if the plant isn't working, it may not necessarily be my preparation, it may be the quality of the plant that I'm using. And so yeah, I am big on growing and sourcing locally, because I believe in quality.
Gotcha. And you said you also have students. So
Hmm.
talk to me a little bit about that. So there's like the school of herbalism. Like what does that look like for you?
So my school is called What Grandma Said,
Mm,
and I started from really literally what my grandma said. And
that's
so what grandma
amazing.
said is a foundational school that not only teaches herbalism, but we teach sustainability and teach people how to live. And with the school, we have programs from different levels. We have workshops and classes, and then we also have specifics. So for my specifics, I have some programs just for women, some programs just for men, some programs just for children. And we
Mhm.
teach people not only about themselves but how to assist. And so, for example, we host a program for summer school for the children, which is 6 weeks, and the parents have to take the children foraging, and the children have a coloring book, and they learn how to make medicine, and they're completely involved. And so the school is so layered, but it's so dope. Like
That's
it's
really
so
dope.
dope.
That's really dope. And I love the name, what grandma said, especially after you know, were gracious enough to let us know how you got into the whole field. Like that's amazing. So like
Yeah.
um it's like definitely like a passion of yours. And like you said you grow your own food as well. So like is that just also something that you like, this is just who I am? And you talked about just the importance of those nutrients. So like, is
Mhm.
that like, what do you consider yourself like? I'm a farmer. Like, you know, some people own that title. Like, how
Mhm.
do you consider yourself, being the fact that you do grow your own food
So I don't consider
in a
myself
sense?
a
Yeah.
farmer at all. But I do grow my own food.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Okay.
And I do it for my friends and my family. So when I grow, for example, I give my first harvest to my neighbors. And I save some of my season. I give my first harvest to my neighbors. So not only do I feed myself, I also feed my community, and then I feed my family. And
Mm,
so with me growing and understanding that a lot of the reasons why people are nutrients deficient is because things are being done in masses, and we're leaving out nutrition on top of all the all the pesticides and things like that they're being sprayed with. And so I understand that nutrition is foundational for health. If I never took another herb again, if I ate healthy and I drink my water, I can maintain my health.
gotcha.
Using herbs is a modality, but that food and that water intake, those vitamins and minerals, that is foundational. And you also get your vitamins and minerals and your essentials, like your proteins and things like that, through food. And
Yeah.
so food is near and dear to me. It is quality. Even if it's something that I'm not growing, I'm going to one of my farmer friends to get it. And
Okay.
so I'm big on that. And not only that, I'm big on preserving my harvest. So I do my own canning. I make my own jams, my jellies, anything that I'm consuming, I'm making. And
What?
so that goes
Okay.
back to what grandma said. Like I just learned, I learned my way. I don't go and buy a rigatoni or whatever. Like I'll make my own noodles. I'll make my own spaghetti sauce. I go in and
Mm-hmm.
grab the tomatoes off of my branch. Okay, like it's a lifestyle for me. But I wasn't always like this. I was very much so raised differently. Although I was introduced to the plants, growing was not a lifestyle thing. But I now have like majority of my family growing food. All of my family's into herbs. Like
Wow.
I just have allowed my light to shine within that way. But yeah, I do my own thing. Like I can grow. You know what I'm saying? I don't
That's
do it on a large
fire.
scale. I can feed some folks. Let me tell you
Yeah.
that.
And talk to me about just the fact that what you just alluded to, you stayed true to your calling,
hmm
and eventually it began to stick. People that you love and care about began to turn the corner. How does that feel? Because
hmm
you've been on this path, you know. So what's that like?
It feels amazing because it's bigger than me, and I understand that.
No worries.
I understand that I have a purpose. And with me having a purpose, I understand that it's bigger than me. So it brings me great joy to see my granddaughter can go and grab a plant and she can bring it to you. Here, Demonte, smell this pepper.
Yeah.
That brings me great joy that I've been able to show a 2-year-old that. You get what I'm saying? It brings me
Yeah.
great joy that my grandma, who had got, even though she introduced me to herbs, she, had became very disconnected, but she's back into it and she's calling me, hey, Sham, bring me, because my family called me Sham, can you
Mm-hmm.
bring me some of that topical pain medicine that you be making for my arthritis, or
Mm.
just being able to see my family and friends, and my conversation and my dialogue with my friends is different, and they calling me to help them to bring their babies in the world, and they calling me when they got this going on and that going on. So man, what? I'm
Yeah.
living, okay? It is bigger than me and I love it. Like it really fills me up even when I have those moments, because I'm human, that I'd be like, man, it's a lot to carry sometimes, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Like I'm it makes me a little emotional, but I'm glad that I tapped into me and I can sit
Yeah.
back. God, I thank you. I thank you. And even to my
Wow.
ancestors, to the plants, like, thank you for choosing me. And I feel like I owe the world to my grandma for, because like, girl, you sowed a seed. You ain't know this seed was
Hmm.
gonna reap this kind of harvest, but you sowed a seed, and so I love it.
Wow. I find that to be really dope, and it's going to take us to the next segment where I like to ask all of my guests, and you are no different. Like, so you do all of these amazing things. You're giving from your heart, from your education. You are
Mm-hmm.
pouring into family, community. Your community has extended physical spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So like you do a lot of things. So like okay, I guess we'll go two questions. What does Essence do for self-care? Because you give a lot. So what do you do for yourself?
What I do for myself now is like, I start my day spending. I've got to the point where I start my day like spending my day with God, and
Mm,
really into prayer, and really in my prayer journal. And so when I tell you that feed my cup, it feeds my cup. And I remember, oh child, don't get me to crying, where I used to be in a space where I was so overwhelmed and I was so caught up in the hustle. Like,
hmm.
so now I'm in that space where I start my day with God. I
Yeah.
start my day with prayer and start my day with me, and that feeds my cup. I go hiking. I travel. Last year I was in Singapore. I was studying in India. Um,
Nice.
I live my best life, friend. I took off the whole
Hmm.
month of September and really explored the world. I was in Houston one week, in Miami the next week, Singapore. I'm in India. I'm here. I'm there. Like the Philippines. Like, I'm living my best life, and so I travel. I go to
Yeah.
spas. I go to different events. I get this. I am able to be present in my own life, and so to me that provides self care, because my everyday life look different depending on my needs. Today, my self care. I met a friend for lunch, and we talked about a new workbook that I just published, and
Hmm.
that brought me joy. Sitting at that table, eating a steak, talking to my friend, like, it looked different for me every day, but I'm finding new ways to fill my cup. I intentionally go hiking every Sunday. I spend a great deal of time in nature and traveling. But the most important thing is just being able to be in a space to hear, and really finding myself like really connected back to God. So right now, that
Hmm.
is my care.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. That's really,
Mm-hmm.
really impactful. And there's a lot of benefits to doing all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's that one dope song that, like, what, whether you want an additional pick me up or
Uh-huh.
whether it's like, oh, it has been a day and I need to put this on and just zone
Yeah.
out, and now we live in this playlist era.
Yeah.
So that's what makes this question so difficult. What's that
Yeah.
one dope song that
I give you
Essence is
two.
like,
I give you
okay,
two.
we'll do two. We'll do two.
It's two songs that I listen to every single day. I listen
Okay.
to Life Must Be Nice. I love that song.
Okay.
Life Beginnings Must Be Nice. I listen to
Yes.
that every single day. And then, I'm a Georgia girl, so I love old Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Okay.
love to like vibe and turn on the little trap music
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
And so there is a song called 85 by the Youngbloods.
Oh, I love that
And
song.
I know you're waiting for Daddy. It might be long shot
Yeah.
because they coming for you. I love that song. I listen to that every single day. I literally listened to it before we got on the call. But
Oh,
those are two
wow.
I listen to every single day.
I
Yeah.
love that. And like I'm also like I'm a fan of the 85 South show. So because of that
Yes.
song, when they created this I was like, I know what they're talking about. And then having lived there, I'm like, yeah. So wow. So people that are just maybe hearing you or hearing what you do for the first time and they just want to learn more, just be involved, just learn a little bit about, the free game you're giving and stuff like that. How can they reach out to you or just support the work that you do?
Okay, so they could definitely find me on all social platforms at Essence the Herbalist. I share a lot of good information. Even if you don't take my class, I'm always teaching and informing the community within that way. You can follow the school on social media at Love What Grandma Said. You can also follow our products on UnEarthed Botanicals, and so those are really our platforms. I keep things like very, very intimate. Like, I love to connect with people. So I love to post
Hmm.
different content, but it's always teachable. Like, I'm always giving people a nugget or a gem to take away with them through the day. So that's how you can connect with me.
That is super amazing. And you've been a really dope guest. I really appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here. And you all, thank you all for listening. This has been another episode of Adult Public Health Podcast with love, respect, and advocacy. Peace.
Peace. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And now,